In older Dungeons & Dragons editions, there was a campaign setting called Dark Sun, where the world was basically a desert wasteland and arcane magic was the cause of it. So, yeah, playing a wizard is a bad idea in that campaign setting. Point being, you'd be forgiven for mistaking the Weathering Continent for being part of that setting. The Weathering Continent was put together from a series of serialized novels of the same name, which went on for 26 volumes, the last of which was released in 2006. It also had a pair of light novels to go with it, but the overall quality of that particular series is hopefully not representative in this piece. Buckle in, folks, this is going to be a bit of a haul. The opening crawl, which is always a good sign, right, explains the situation that everything used to be great in the lost continent of Atlantis until their equivalent of global warming hit them like a ton of bricks and reduced the whole planet to a wasteland. And unfortunately, it's not one of those cool wastelands full of weird monsters and mutants. It's the kind of wasteland where everything sucks and nothing good happens ever. Welcome to Trump's America. I told you those damn wind farms were a good idea, but no, we had to find more coal. In this horrific wasteland, we have our three characters, Fighter, Rogue, and Cleric. TA the Cleric, Boys the Fighter, and Lakshi, the resident girl/thief, are the protagonists of what I can only really describe as a super depressing slog through a bunch of sand, while extras from Mad Max go and disturb the spirits of the dead. So, as you may be aware, one of the biggest things that human bodies require to continue functioning is water, and that's the main objective of the three heroes, because they all want to see another day. Given how mopey and morose all this business is, I can't help but think that Suicide Pact is probably a better end to the whole affair. They are not having a good day, needless to say. So plot-wise, there really isn't a whole lot going on. They stumble into an ancient tomb, and like good PCs, they listen very carefully to the DM's explanation of the backstory, and then they get accosted by gross men who want to do naughty things to poor Lakshi. Because this was a non-TV anime in 1992, and female characters existed only to get rape threatened to them. I'm glad we've moved beyond that to the point we're at now, where female characters don't actually do anything or have any agency at all. Kind of a lateral move, Japan. Get it sorted! That being said, the bad guys here are after the treasure of the city, which, incidentally, is full of mummies, all poised in a clearly religious fashion. What part of Don't Disturb the Dead do these guys not get? Because, of course, they bust open the wrong box, Raiders of the Lost Ark style. I don't exactly know how they got to the point where it's just like, you know what's a really good idea? Pillaging a old religious temple in a world where magic is clearly a thing. But what are you going to do, right? And I know this is a pretty stoic story, but there has to come a point where being told repeatedly not to disturb something and doing it anyway just elicits a, "He warned you," from the spirits of the dead. Congratulations, idiot. You got killed by your own ability to heed warning signs. That's one of the biggest problems I have with the Weathering Continent. All of this that I just described happens within about, I would say, 40 minutes or so. This movie is just shy of an hour. So how much time do you think was wasted getting to this point even where any action happens? Now, it is possible to create a story in which there's not a whole ton of action, a visual experience, but that's something that you have to kind of earn. Incidentally, I would really love to see a superstitious bandit king who doesn't brazenly knock over caskets of ancient power. Anyway, that is more of a problem with the writing than anything else. The whole situation feels pretty heavily railroaded into this big dungeon, and the player characters, or main characters in this case, are all smart enough not to mess with anything. So it's up to the baddies to go and do everything to make this more perilous than it needs to be. Alternatively, it could just be the editing team coming in and saying, let's punch this up a little bit, you know? Put some body horror in there. Yeah, that'll do. It's a little all over the place. The whole ordeal is both predictable and extremely tedious, and the way that they manage to survive hinges entirely on the fact that they passed the basic humanity test early on in the film. After they manage to actually save their own hides, then it just seems to be a huge slog to get to the credits, and while we can rest assured that yes, there are more adventures for this bunch of ultimately doomed humans, I don't think I really need to find out what they're up to in the future. The animation, however, is definitely a strong point. The show is really pretty, and honestly, it kind of feels like a waste. Maybe that was kind of the point, to make something pretty and storytelling can kind of stuff it. But that doesn't really seem like the right way to go about things. Who am I to question Production IG? I know. All the same, this particular movie bears a lot of stylistic similarities to Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, a film that was also very stylish but a little light on story. So at least there's some consistency. The English cast is listenable, but not what I'd consider to be inspired, but at the same time, this is another oldie, so that shouldn't shock anybody. I feel like I'd really tear into Weather Incontinent more if anything about it shocked me, and as it stands, it's pretty much what you should expect from the time, and the amount of buzz around it. I don't know what I was expecting, but I should have lowered my expectations even more. The worst part is, it's not so horribly atrocious that I could actually have a good time picking it apart and making fun of it. Its nihilistic viewpoint is apparently shared by the production itself. So once again, we have an example of Cinema Nihilo, a movie that starts from nothing, says nothing, and becomes nothing. And while I'm too lazy to go and bust this bitch up with a baseball bat, it's definitely not getting a second viewing.